Welcome back to the According to West podcast, and today we're talking about a habit that is completely draining your energy, and you probably don't even realize you're doing it. Now, have you ever been in a conversation where you feel a strong, clear emotion? Maybe you're hurt, maybe you're exhausted, maybe you're just wanting to say no, maybe you're horny, but before the words leave your mouth, they go through an internal filter. You take your raw, honest feeling and you translate it into a version you think the other person can handle. You act as your own PR department in some ways. To be honest, that's probably why I feel so fake at my 9 to 5. Like I can't really truly be myself. No one can. I mean, you can, but that comes with its own pros and cons. Like there's moments where I don't want to be a team player. Now I can't say, hey, I don't want to be a team player because you're a jerk and you use people and this and this. I can't put my personal feelings in it. I have to say stuff like, let me check my calendar and let me get back with you. I have some pending things that I need to see about. You can't tell them those. You can't tell your coworkers that hard truth. You have to smile when you don't want to smile sometimes. You have to schmooze when you don't like the person. When you don't like the snooze or brown nose, if you will. Like being in the office, being in the corporate world, you have to be your own mental PR department before HR gets involved, and that can be draining in itself. It's definitely draining for me. Not that I have a lot of things that could potentially land me into the HR office, but just being your own PR department in the corporate 9 to 5 or even the blue collar 9 to 5, it sets us up for failure, but I don't see any other way. And people, including myself, tend to translate that back at home in their personal life. They don't know how to turn certain things off from work. Sometimes turning work off or turning your work mindset off isn't just like not bringing your work home, but it's your mentality. Let's kind of break down what this looks like. Your real feeling is, I'm completely burned out and I cannot take on this project or I will break. But the translated version that comes out of your mouth is, I'm a little swamped this week, but I can probably squeeze it in if you really need me to. You took a hard truth and watered it down into a soft lie. We do this to manage the other person's reaction. We do it to keep the peace. So the truth is, our emotions are often visceral and complicated. When we feel something vulnerable, like fear, shame, or insecurity, our brains often instinctively translate it into something safer, more of a defensive emotion. The other person doesn't hear your internal intent, they only hear your external words. Then they process the words through their own past experiences and current mood. Today we're gonna talk about why this is the ultimate form of self-deceit. When you constantly translate your reality into something palatable for the crowd, you aren't being kind, you're being dishonest. And worse, you're actively teaching the people around you to interact with a fake version of you. Self-deceit is an ego preservation mechanism. It is the mind's way of protecting you from the discomfort of accountability or the pain of falling short. When you operate in self-deceit, your internal monologue acts like a defense attorney. Its job is to generate rationalizations that keep you safe from guilt or hard work. This state thrives heavily on the habit of complaining, because complaining successfully shifts the blame onto external circumstances or people. By convincing yourself that you are a victim of a bad situation, a bad market, an unfair friend, a lack of time, you absolve yourself of the responsibility to fix it. When you hand someone a translated, watered-down version of your boundaries, what happens? They step right over them because you didn't give them a wall. You gave them a speed bump. And then you get into your car to drive home. And you enter a massive, unproductive loop of complaining. You replay the conversation in your head. You get angry at them for asking too much of you. But you can't be that mad for someone crossing a line that you refuse to draw clearly. Training people to take you for granted is the accidental process of rewarding bad behavior. It is the realization that being undervalued is rarely something that just happens to you. It is a dynamic you have actively co-created by consistently signaling that your time and availability are cheap. In any relationship, every interaction is a data point. When people test your limits, your response sets the new baseline. Saying no creates immediate friction, which can be uncomfortable. To avoid that friction, you say yes, but in doing so, you build the architecture of resentment. You become furious at them for demanding so much of you, while willingly ignoring the fact that you are the one operating the vending machine that dispenses your time whenever they press the button. This is how we slip into a victim mentality. We complain that our time and our availability are constantly taken for granted. We feel used. But if you are constantly translating your exhaustion into a smile and a sure, I can help, you are the one devouring your time. If you want people to respect your bandwidth, you have to stop speaking to them in a language that pretends your bandwidth is infinite. Some of us have this idea that hiding your feelings is a sign of being a good, dependable person or master of your emotions. We love to justify our translations by calling it prudence. We say things like, well, I just didn't want to start a fight. I'm being the bigger person. But let's look at ancient wisdom for a second. If you read the Stoics, true self-mastery is about seeing reality clearly and acting with absolute integrity. Prudence is knowing how to deliver the truth without unnecessary cruelty. It is not erasing the truth altogether. Watering down your reality because you are afraid of someone else's emotion isn't prudence. It's cowardice, masked as politeness. Although prudence and cowardice often result in not taking immediate aggressive action, their internal mechanics are entirely different. Prudence is a firm, decided no or not yet. You've analyzed the variables, weighed the consequences, and decisively concluded that acting now is a poor strategy. The decision is made and the mind is clear. Cowardice, on the other hand, often masquerades as endless deliberation. It relies on perpetual hesitation, waiting for a perfect moment that will never come, or demanding more data than is reasonably necessary. It avoids making a firm decision because acting forces a confrontation with fear. We think that being a dependable person means being endlessly accommodating. It doesn't. True dependability means that when you say yes, people know it's a real yes. And when you say no, it's a real no. If you are constantly translating your feelings, nobody actually knows where they stand with you. It takes profound humility to drop the PR filter and say, I need to be honest. I don't have the capacity for this right now. For example, you have a longtime friend who has slowly developed a habit of taking your time and availability for granted. They treat you as their on-call sounding board, damn near therapist. And they often dominate conversations with complaints about the same problems, but they don't take any steps to solve them. It's Friday night. You had a draining week. And, tonight is like, I'm playing 2K. You playing video games, you're drinking, you're eating sandwiches, you're doing your thing. Your phone rings. And your friend say, yo, I had the worst day ever. I'm in the neighborhood. I'll be there in about 10. Now, this is the point where you need to figure out if you're going to be a coward about this or if you want to, practice some prudence. Now, you can let them in. You can swallow your exhaustion. Offer them a drink, spend the next 3 hours nodding along as they vent. And, you can tell yourself in your head that you're being supportive, but deep down you're resentful, and the evening was hijacked and you didn't get to do anything that you wanted to do. Or you can do what most people do. Not most, I hope you don't, but you panic. You turn off all the lights in your house and you pretend you're not home. And say, sorry, I fell asleep. However, the best action, the prudent action, is to intercept them before they arrive and say, yo, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're having a rough day, but tonight is not the night. I'm totally wiped out and I need to unplug alone tonight. We'll catch up another day. That's your best option. Like you telling them what it is, you don't feel resentment, and they know where you stand in that moment. You cannot truly connect with another human being if you're terrified of them hearing your unedited reality. Intimacy requires the raw material of who you are, actually. When you try to present a perfect, managed, translated life, people don't feel close to you. They might like your utility, but they don't know your soul. When you translate your feelings to make people happy, you get the quick pleasure of avoiding an awkward moment. The tension in the room stays low, but what you sacrifice is the deep structural satisfaction of a real relationship. Real satisfaction comes from looking at a friend or partner, handing them your unvarnished truth, and watch them stay. If you constantly translate yourself, you will spend your entire life surrounded by people, yet feeling completely alone. Remember, satisfaction in communication is the emotional and psychological sense of fulfillment you get when an interaction meets your expectations. It's the feeling of walking away from a conversation thinking that was productive, I felt heard, or we actually understand each other now. It's not necessarily about everyone agreeing. You can walk away from a heated debate or a boundary setting conversation with high communication satisfaction if the exchange was clear, respectful, and achieved its purpose. There has to be shared meaning there's no lingering confusion. There has to be relational validation, which means the conversation is respected by both parties' autonomy and boundaries. And also, there has to be forward momentum. While we think of communication as a two-person dance, your satisfaction is heavily dictated by your own internal narrative before, during, and after the conversation. If you successfully set a firm boundary with a person, but your internal dialogue immediately spirals into guilt, your communication satisfaction will be zero. The external conversation was successful, but the internal conversation sabotaged the emotional reward. True satisfaction requires alignment. Your external words must match your internal framing. When you train your brain to view difficult conversations as problem-solving mechanisms rather than threats, your baseline satisfaction in all relationships naturally rises. So, how do we fix this? The opposite of translating your feelings isn't screaming them at people. You don't need to be aggressive. You just need to be accurate. If you are disappointed, say, I'm disappointed. Don't say, it's totally fine, no worries. If you need space, say, I need some time to myself today. Don't say, I'm just feeling a little under the weather. Let people deal with the reality of you. Have the perseverance to sit in the 5 minutes of awkwardness that follows a true statement. Remember, the verbal filter is entirely controlled by your internal narrative. If your inner dialogue is focused on managing the other person's emotions, your brain will automatically generate a highly filtered, watered-down statement. To bypass this, you have to forcefully reframe your internal goal. Shift your focus away from managing their feelings and strictly towards solving the problem of ambiguity. When clarity becomes the primary objective, the anxious filter naturally drops. Also note that directness does not equate to rudeness. A clear, decided no, or I don't have the bandwidth for that today is not disrespectful. It's just a fact. The filter tries to soften it by adding, the I'm so sorry, or I just feel like maybe I can't get to it today. You can be deeply empathetic and warm while still delivering an unfiltered, uncompromising truth. Warmth comes from your tone and body language. Clarity comes from your unfiltered words. So I have some homework for you guys this week. Over the next 7 days, I want you to fire the PR manager in your head. When someone asks you a question, or when you feel a boundary being bumped, I want you to catch that instinct to soften the blow. Take a breath, find your footing, and just hand them the raw text. Speak your truth quietly, clearly, and without apologies. Stop exhausting your soul to speak a language that isn't yours. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.